We began with 8, and now we are down to 2 here in the men's portion of the AMJ Campbell 2018 Nova Scotia Junior Curling Championships here on Bell 5 TV1. It is Team Graham Weagle out of the Chester Curling Club taking on Team Matthew Manuel from the Mayflower Curling Club here from beautiful Lakeshore Curling Club in Lower Sackville, Nova Scotia. Hi everybody, my name is Dan Hobson. I'm joined alongside here by Karen Skiffington. And these teams, of course, no stranger to each other, have met 4 times previous before these championships. And this will be the 3rd time they've met at these championships. And so far, it's gone the way of Matthew Manuel, and he's only 1 win away from taking home the championship. Let's get your thoughts on this one as we have the first stone on the way from Jeffrey Marr.
Thank you, Dan. It's a great morning. We're on our final day. As you said, both these teams have played each other twice so far in this event. So they know each other's team game, strategies, strengths, weaknesses, so they're going to try to play on that. I would expect to see a close game. The shooting styles and whatnot that they play are very similar. Like to see a lot of hits, a lot of long run backs. We saw some great shots that way this week, so I expect to see some more of that.
So the first one there goes into the house. Of course, Manuel, as a result of his strong 6-1 record, has the hammer here, throwing the yellow stones. So we are seeing their lead, Alec Cameron. So we're going to run down the names of the players here in this one. And I gotta like that Team Graham Weagle trying to change things around here, gets a little bit of better luck. All 4 members wearing hats. It was Dory there, of course, their second wearing the hat all the time. Now they decided to say, hey, let's try to switch it up. And with losing 2 to them, as we mentioned here in the championships, wearing hats here in this one. Or the fact is that it's a morning game and they have a little bit of a bedhead.
Maybe. Curlers by trade are a superstitious lot anyway. We have a certain pre-game routine, pre-shot routine. You may not be changing your socks today, or you may be. It just depends what your superstitions are.
So here is Alec Cameron's second one. Of course, the second on the team is Nick Sachernick. Third, Adam Cox, and skipped by Matthew Manuel. And their coach is Stu Cameron from the Mayflower Curling Club. And they are the defending champions in this event. And they came in ranked 3rd in the Nova Scotia Curling Association Junior Provincial Standings rankings. So, of course, they had to go through qualifier to get in. And they did. As we take a look at Brett Dory, he is the second on this team. Graham Weagle is the skip. He will be throwing 3rd stone. And 4th rock, Owen Purcell, coached by Anthony Purcell. And they're from the Chester Curling Club. And they're having a pretty good year, I'd say. Number 1 in the Nova Scotia Junior Curling Provincial rankings. And there's a lot of players on this team that have a lot of experience. But this is the first time that they're actually together as a team and are doing pretty well.
Correct. In the junior, as you move up through the junior ranks, we have under 15, under 18, and now this is the under 21. You have a lot of kids that are graduating high school, moving into universities, so there's a lot of changes in the under 18, under 21 categories. You move out of province, we see teams that change because they're at a university in Ontario, so they've picked up different teams. People traveling in, as we saw with the women's teams, Caitlin Jones, originally from Saskatchewan, now playing here in Nova Scotia. So, of course, they've known each other quite a long time. Good friends on and off the ice, but probably stronger opponents for that.
Yep, so far the quiet start that we were pretty well expecting from these teams. And the first ends are usually not a lot of rocks in play so far in the 2 previous matchups here at the championships. And Graham Weagle's team, well, they've got a tough task ahead of them if they want to claim the championship. We talk about Manuel just needing 1 more win. Weagle pretty well has to run the table and get 2 wins against this Matthew Manuel team. And with only getting 1 loss here in the championships, definitely not an easy task here for the Weagle team out of the Chester Curling Club.
That's right. For the fans at home that may not have seen the draw, this is a triple knockout. That means you leave this weekend either winning the event or having 3 losses, unfortunately, for those teams. So Manuel, coming in with only 1 loss, has to be beaten twice if Weagle is going to take the championship.
So far they're going shot for shot as they Blue stone is removed and the shooter goes as well. So as you see, Owen Purcell will be placing the broom here for the skip, Graham Weagle.
So a very clean end from both teams. Execution, they're just going to bank some time, get comfortable in the ice, maybe shake off some of those nerves that come with them this morning, and then we'll see it probably pick up in a few more ends.
Front end working hard here of Dory and Marr. And they will get the stone there to rest. As that got a little bit further than I anticipated, but we'll stop in the 8 foot, just short of the tee line, right along the center line. As we take a look at Matthew Manuel, defending champion of his event. Here is his third, Adam Cox.
So I understand there's some grandparents of Adam Cox maybe tuning in to us from Florida. The snowbirds down there.
Bring some of that warm weather up here because we're freezing. Pretty well Canada coast to coast is on such a cold spell that some of the New Year's Eve events have been either canceled or pushed up a bit or even shortened.
Yes, if you bundle up tonight if you're heading out to the Commons and watching all those outdoor activities. So today we only have one game in the ice. It's going to make for a little bit different atmosphere out there for those boys, but it'll give us the opportunity to tune in a little more with our on-ice microphone.
Yep, just exchanging shots here in the first. So what's so great about this, as you say, with just one game being played right now, sounds you hear are exactly from that sheet. Of course, I was kind of a little bit surprised that there's no fans ice level there so far. They've made their way out. Hasn't happened yet, but of course it's a Sunday morning in the HRM, so of course more people will be hopefully coming here to watch this one, but not a bad turnout here so far, close to our broadcast location. Maybe they just like the warm environment as opposed to the sheet where it's a little bit cooler.
They're probably still home having their coffee, tuning into us online.
Well, that's a possibility too. So if they're in the area, come on by. If you want to watch online, well, we're happy either way. Glad you can join us here for these 2018 Nova Scotia Junior Curling Championships presented by AMJ Campbell here in Bell 5 TV1. And pretty well the Rocks have been just in the top 12-foot area. So they've just been putting their hitting pants on and just exchanging shots. Getting a chance to see if there's any changes in ice conditions. Their teams are pretty confident that they know the ice, but of course you don't know what it is until you really get out there and play.
That's right. It's scraped between every game this week, so there could be some slight changes. The speed overall has been maintained. The teams this morning also had their choice of stones. So they were given the choice to select from any sheet that was in play. We had 4 sheets of rocks. We're using the Nova Scotia Curling Association rocks. So the teams have elected to choose their own stones. Manuel, of course, with the better rock, had chosen yellow. They're actually playing with 2 rocks from sheet D, sheet B, and I think 6 rocks from sheet C. Team Purcell's playing with all the rocks that were originally on sheet C for blue stones.
Wow, that's quite a memory.
The logistics of being part of the organizing committee and ice techs and whatnot.
Yeah, well, we haven't got a chance, of course, to get into that you've been busy, putting a lot of time here, pretty well since day number 1. Putting in probably about good 13, 14-hour days. And, I guess you could say that, the finish line, you could see it, so maybe a chance to have a nice little vacay once after this has come to an end.
Yeah, let the microphone here take over for a moment.
We'll stick around. Nope, they will stay there for a single, so they force Manuel force them into taking one here and in number 1. As we go to 2. 1-0 the score. Weagle Manuel over Weagle here in the first. So that's a bit of a surprise there to us. Expecting probably a blank, but let's say all of a sudden you get closer to the wings or the outside of the sheet, and that stuff happens.
Yeah, just a different combination of weight maybe. Didn't come up and curl as much as they thought. We have noticed that these stones, the striking bands are quite lively, which means when they do impact each other, they have a real good bounce or pop apart. So we see a lot of movement in the rings after the two stones have collided. These stones are also traveling a little bit farther than, so the kids are with the sweeping abilities these boys have, they're able to carry a stone quite a ways during a draw as well.
So Weagle will carry the hammer here and in too, throwing the blue handled stones. As we see the hammer go all the way on top of the graphic there.
So Team Manuel is going to utilize the free guard zone here, and that's the area at the top of the house. 4 rock rule in play. First 4 rocks in the free guard zone cannot be removed. So with Manuel placing that stone in the free guard zone, I would expect a few more rocks in play this end. Possibly Manuel setting up to try and steal one. Maybe force Weagle to 1 so that they can get the hammer back.
This one may be definitely a deep one, deeper than probably what they want, so we'll come to a stop in the back 8.
Probably just a little excitement and nerves. First end was a lot of hits, so they may not know exactly where the tee line is. The tee line being the center of the circle, so it's always a good judgment for weight for a draw.
Reminder that the 2018 Deloitte Tankard begins Tuesday, January 9th at 2 o'clock from the Dartmouth Curling Club, and Bell 5 TV1 is going to be there, bringing you the first row to the awards presentation, and it should be a dandy, a fantastic field of Stuart Thompson, Brendan McDougall, Chad Stevens, Greg Power, Mark Fleming, Mark Dacey, Kendall Thompson, and the defending champion and the guy who calls this his hometown rink, Jamie Murphy. So mark it in your calendars in 2018 that show up for that event or even tune in and watch. Should be a fantastic week of curling, and we're delighted to be there.
Yeah, it's at the Dartmouth Curling Club. The organizing committee is hard at work now getting ready for that. So still some volunteers, I think, needed in some areas. So if you're interested in helping out, contact the Dartmouth Curling Club.
There's the come around, and they bump it yellow, and they do.
Very nice shot here. Even though Blue was sitting second and third shot, it puts them in a really good position. They've moved that yellow stone behind the tee line, and they're sitting behind, partially covered at the top of the 4. That's a very good position for Blue.
Nick Zachernuk. So we already see more rocks in play here in this second inning as there was the first. So pretty well what we anticipated would happen as they try to come around once again. They'll get a piece of that blue one towards the back. So Team Manuel first and third shot. And Graham Weagle is going to get Brett Dory here to get rid of that guard. Slight brushing there by Purcell. And Dory there to remove that stone, and Shooter goes as well. So things starting to get a little bit more opened up there in front of the house.
Yes, the experience these boys have, then the weight that they can throw with the accuracy, it doesn't take long for a really well set up end to suddenly turn on you, and you're looking at 3 or 4 and all of a sudden it's changed color on you.
You hear that Matthew Manuel saying, "Clean it, clean it."
There was a few games we've had some picks. That's either a little bit of debris that gets in the path of the stones. Sometimes it's a handprint that may have flattened a spot of the ice. So he's just making sure the sweepers are aware of that.
And just as soon as it comes to a rest, Weagle goes out there and asking Dory to remove it here. Our Weagle, the front ends here. And they do remove the stone, and the shooter goes to the side and out. So right back where we started from a couple seconds ago. Adam Cox here in the second end. And pretty well puts it right on with the rest of those rocks there, so you just have a funny feeling that the way that this is going to go, Karen, is that whatever team makes the first big mistake is of course maybe the way that determining how this one goes here.
Yes, these games are so precise now. The execution is going to have to be there. And as you said, a slight miscommunication or misstep on a shot could change the end entirely, or even the game.
Graham Weagle. Now Purcell doing the majority of scrubbing on that one. Actually, it was Dory, pardon me, and they remove it, and the shooter goes once again. The one yellow handled stone belonging to Manuel, the shot rock, and the second one, the blue, right on top there in the 4-foot area. To Weagle here, who has hammer in two. I guess we talked about it with this being just a lone game on the sheet, that this is probably pretty good because there's really no noise. There's no other sheets going on, so there's no other like hollering. So, I mean, it makes for better communication when you're just all there by yourself.
Yes, although when you're used to having games in progress, the focus is a little easier, I find. You have the white noise behind you. The other games, it's a different atmosphere. Some of these teams work with sports psychologists, so they may practice on their own to see what it's like to play in an empty arena or an empty ice shed as this. And others are practicing distraction drills, so when there's crowds out there, as we saw earlier this week, and they've got their cowbells and their whistles and they're cheering, they may be cheering a shot on another sheet, not necessarily your own, so it could be a distraction for you. So some of the teams do practice that. And it's certainly very unique for us to have a crowd out on the ice this week. So
had the honor of working with Bill Fletcher last night calling the women's game, and the one where Caitlin Jones won her championship, and he said that's what he did. It was one of the surprises to me, because I didn't think you could really practice that, but got the parents to make noise and all that stuff to get them used to it, and it's does help, because that's what atmosphere you're going to face when you keep moving up and going on to championships and stuff like that. It's totally different than regular play and bond spiels, cash spiels when you don't have people on the ice level. So it's definitely getting them ready for big time events.
Yeah, and as parents and spectators, we're behind the glass. We don't usually have very much communications with the teams. We travel to events, and of course you can't knock on the glass. You're not doing a lot of cheering. It's clap for the great shots. We're not normally over expressive with the cheering, And now we're seeing crowds. An event like this, we've got bleachers out on the ice so that the parents can engage. Asked a few of the curlers, I said, how are you making out with the distractions with your parents on the ice and stuff? And we love it. The more out there, the better. We love seeing our parents cheer for us. So it's a great opportunity. Down to Skip's Rocks here.
He was forced to take one here forced to take one in number 1, and now was without hammer as Matthew here in 2.
So Matthew this end is looking to set up steal, which may force Team Weagle to take 1, which would be a benefit to Manuel because that would instill that he gets the hammer back in the next end while maintaining a close score.
They're going hard here, both Satchernuk and Cameron. Remove the blue and push one of those yellows as it spins towards it. He's right now first and third still, as we take a look at a nice shot there of the rings.
Certainly puts the pressure on the Weagle team to score more than their 1 here. The scoring zone now, or the scoring area, is smaller with those 2 yellow stones at the back 4. So they've elected to try and tap the blue into the button, leaving a blue stone in the top 8 foot. Potentially, maybe they might be able to work out a score of 2 by tapping some rocks around.
The throw from Owen Purcell on his way from the Chester Curling Club here. His team up by 1. That guard came in as that started to take off and get over. Opens things up here, so as you said, the force is on, the potential steal still in play here for Matthew Manuel. Now is it pretty well try to protect that what he's got there, or what would you do?
It appears that he's going to try and remove that blue stone. That would definitely put the force on. There'd be no... Weagle would have to try and outcount those 3 yellow at that point if successful in removing that blue stone. So definitely would put the force. Small scoring area, he would only have the button to draw to, but he would have backing for Team Weagle. So Matthew Manuel here just electing to try and remove the blue stone. It's still early in the game, so your risk versus reward shots are, you don't mind trying something like this.
Well, here at the championships, he's got on to 3 game winning streaks. He started it going 3-0. Then he had a little bit of a bump in the middle of the road. Ryan Abraham, a 6-3 loss to him, and then back to a 3-game winning streak. For Matthew Manuel coming in at 6-1, the defending champion here throwing his last rock without hammering into.
So I guess he has elected to guard here.
As you can see, Owen Purcell points it down and heads up. Now they're going to have a little bit of a talk, so maybe a second thought. And that's what Owen Purcell will be drawing to. And that's the path that he has to go to get there.
We haven't been on this side of the sheet yet this end either, so it's kind of an unknown as far as weight and when the break point will be. So the break point being when the rock has enough momentum that's slowed down that it begins to curl quite hard. So difficult shot. He's got to get a piece of the button.
Final stone here for the Graham Weagle foursome out of the Chester Curling Club. Fourth rock being thrown here by Owen Purcell. And already Mar and Dory working hard. And it looks like they're going to crash that guard. And so Manuel will get a steal of 2. And it's 3-0 after 2 ends of play. And
I will just wait for confirmation on that. I'm not sure if that top blue one may have been out counting the back yellow. So a steal of 1.
Steal of 1, pardon me. So 2-0 after 2 ends of play. Weagle will keep the hammer here in 3. Do want to remind our folks that, of course, our cameras are not directly over the sheet, so it can make some of those tight ones look a little closer than what they actually are. So we will just, of course, await the confirmation as soon as it goes on the scoreboard. So 2-0 here as we play the third.
So Team Manuel again using that free guard zone. I think this one might slide in a little on them.
Yeah, it will. Just stay in the top 12.
Team Weagle electing to ignore that and set up their corner guards. So Weagle's looking to score their deuce this end.
Jeffrey Marr, the 18-year-old, 10-time provincial finalist and winner of 4 provincial titles, and is a national level paddling and kayaking competitor in the summertime.
I imagine that in that cross training probably helps his sweeping quite a bit.
Yeah, because sometimes like he has been like really sweeping hard here throughout the championships, and that's going to take its toll on its body. So that's a lot of hours in the gym and great conditioning.
Yes, and these are quite endurance games. We play 10 ends. They also have a pregame practice that they have to go through, and if the game ever goes into an extra end, you're looking at almost 3 hours of game time out here. So physical endurance as well as your mental endurance is going to be a key factor in these longer events.
I guess this isn't really a serious question, but if the luck doesn't change here, do you think the Weagle team will take off their hats?
I'm not sure. We'll see what happens at the 5th end. I don't know. They might end up with hat head now.
They're going hard on this one, and it will just get over. It may bump that blue one. It will. Slightest of slightest rubs. So now, of course, Manuel can bury one and have like that one in the top 12. Bury one that could be in the 8-foot and 4-foot area. So have a little bit of coverage there for sure. If they can get the shot done here by Nick Zacharnik.
Definitely put the pressure on Team Weagle by getting a lot of these rocks in play. We've seen a couple strategies this week where we go hard real early, try to score, and then keep it clean for the second half of the game. We've also seen teams keep it very clean at the beginning and then get a lot more rocks in play later on. So Team Weagle now really trying to put the pressure, Team Manuel trying to put the pressure on Team Weagle here.
Clog a little bit up of the center line area. As you see, there is a port there to come and maybe go down the middle and try to clear things up along the center line area.
Yeah, so they're going to ask Brett Dory here to try to peel off some of these yellow. Team Weagle with the hammer wants to keep that 4-foot area open, so if Owen needs to on his last stone, he can draw that 4-foot.
Brett Dory, who coaches boys under-9 soccer team in Chester during the summer, and is currently working as an electrical apprentice, is a 3-time provincial finalist. Cox being assisted here by Cameron on this one. Trying to close up that center line, and does so. Now they have a really good situation here, as you see.
So again, we will try to open this up.
Big weight being thrown here by Brett Dory here, and end number 3 is team down by 2.
So some of our viewers may be wondering why Owen wasn't sweeping on that one, where it appeared that we wanted sweeping there. There's been a lot of discussions and changes in our sweeping over the last few seasons. The theory now, with one sweeper, you're using for line to control directional sweeping. So if you're trying to hold the line or encourage a little more curl out of your path of your stone, you're using one sweeper. And if you're looking to drag it or carry the rock a little further, you're using 2 sweepers.
Wow, great job there by that front end. There was a very small board, and they got right through it and placed it there just inside the 12-foot area. But
fantastic team communication. You need the combination of the line and the weight there. And Matthew was as instrumental as calling the line just as much as the sweepers calling the weight.
yeah, just like going through the eye of a needle, going through there, getting that placed. This is what makes it so hard. Once they get up on top, they just seem to make shot after shot, and it really makes it hard on their opposition to get back here. This Manuel team, not too many cracks in their foundation, that's for sure. But of course, they are defending champions of this event.
And if our camera angles are correct, I believe they're lying 2 now.
Of course, they're looking for their 4th provincial title. They've been to nationals 3 times already. They had a 4-5 record in 2015, and back-to-back 5-4 records in 2016 and 2017. So they are a solid team, and it's really going to require Graham Weagle and his foursome here at the Chester Curling Club to make sure they don't make many mistakes and don't really give this team a lot of opportunities to capitalize on.
Graham just made a great run back hit on that stone that Manuel worked so hard to get in. So Matthew's gone a little bit farther out this time, so a slightly different path.
And Cox's were into 3rd rocks here in number 3.
This isn't going to curl around that front stone as much as planned, so we're going to leave it high.
Weagle and Purcell assessing the situation. Very cluttered there in the front of the house, as you see. Go to the outside as Graham Weagle will make his way up ice here. The 18-year-old 10-time provincial finalist winner of the 2014 Under-15 Provincials and 2015 High School Provincials. And he's studying business at St. Mary's University. And has won 3 Under-21 junior spiels so far in playing junior curling.
Yes, this team Weagle won the junior spiel here at Lakeshore back in October.
Their Achilles heel here at this championships has been this Manuel team, losing twice. Regular season, we mentioned earlier, was even at 2-2.
We were hoping for an inside roll on this. There was lots of rocks to get in behind cover. Didn't come up and curl like they wanted to.
One of those situations where we have a lot of rocks in play, but not really necessarily, because pretty well in an empty house, but tough path to get there. Ports, a couple of ports there as you see, and pretty well have to have been forced to the outside. You get to the outside, tendency is, and sometimes that the rocks run a little bit straighter on the outside.
Some great team communication, making sure all members of the team know what's going on. There was a choice to draw around or raise their yellow stone. Both shots require slightly different line, a slightly different weight. So I believe they've elected to tap here. And making sure all team members are on the same page is very important as they go down the ice. You don't want the sweepers judging weight for one shot and this Adam in the rings calling line for another shot. So.
Skip rocks, fourth rocks here in 3. Three-time provincial champion, hoping to make it 4. On top, 2-0 over Team Weagle.
Alex sweeping hard here for line.
They may have a beauty of a shot here. Get it in there to the 8-foot area to lie 1. Yeah, probably see a little bit of it, but not a lot.
Not a lot. So blue does have the option to have a few rocks to promote here as well. Of course, he also wants to leave himself a shot with his last rock.
So if you raise the one there in the center, you're blocking the center path for your next one. Yeah,
although you would leave your own stone there as well.
Yeah.
So it's your comfort level of what shot, how to play the angles. So you see Owen over there looking at the yellow shot. Maybe you don't not necessarily like to run back the opponent's stone into the rings.
Yeah.
So a run back hit off the yellow is not your favorite shot. And I think we're looking at possibly promoting one of the blue stones here. Although we did see Manuel draw through a port there earlier in the end, so maybe that hole is still there. It's difficult to tell from our angle. We're just slightly off to the corner of the sheet, so we're not directly behind them, so we don't actually see how big the port is. So.
Owen Purcell, 17 years of age, 9-time provincial finalist, winner of 3 provincial titles, has won 5 Under-21 junior spiels so far in juniors. And he is a student of Sir John A. Macdonald and will be attending Dalhousie University to take their computer science program next year at Dal. But can he get this one through there? Yes, he can. And that's the thing, you have to throw it up so that you can't be too light so that you wreck the stuff, but you may, of course, risk going a little bit deeper than what you intended.
Does still sit number 1, so that'll force Matthew to come down the same path, freeze to him, setting up the force to get his hammer back.
I definitely would have liked to be like front 4, back 4, but
Yeah, top 4 would have been great there, and the weight probably would have just buried a little bit more for him. Yeah.
I say try to come through a port is almost like just like the freeze. It's just got to be perfect. And
There's a
it is
shot.
lined up with the one there along the center line, that guard there. So. But it is a pretty good shot nonetheless. So.
Yeah, it definitely puts the pressure on Matthew to follow him down, get into that 4-foot area.
Yep. Starting to get that curler mentality, even though I'm a curling broadcaster. Yeah, you know, you see, you make a good shot, but you're also looking at what can I do better on that next one, sort of thing. So it's starting to get to you guys' way of thinking.
Yeah, there's a lot of endurance, physical endurance in this sport, sweeping and whatnot, but there's a lot of precision.
Speaking of precision, gets through there.
So now we want to make sure it stays on that back blue one and doesn't bounce off.
It does, and right there was Team Purcell there to sweep it out. So
opportunity for Weagle to find that port again and potentially set up a deuce here.
Yeah, it did rub off that blue one, and they got on it right away to try to make sure that they still had that shot rock, and they do. So well played in by both of these teams, and
discussion down here at the end. The sweeper's just reinforcing the weight for Owen. So each person in each team has their own routine in the hack. So some people like to get all this feedback before they throw, and some people you don't even talk to. So
last rock for Owen Purcell, who throws 4 stone here for the Graham Weagle team, looking here to come through that port and stick around for 2, but he's going to be all over it. So it'll be a score of 1 there for Weagle, 2-1, as we head to end 4. Manuel will have the hammer here in 4 here at the AMJ Campbell 2018 Nova Scotia Junior Curling Championships here in Bell 5 TV1. Alongside Karen Skiffington, my name is Dan Hobson. Delighted to be here. Pretty simple formula here for Matthew Manuel. To win the provincial championship, he has to win just 1 game, and Weagle has to pretty well win 2.
So far this morning, we've seen a very close game. I would expect Manuel now will try to set up for a deuce. Maintain the hammer in the even ends. Cookie cutter strategy, as we like to say, would be to score 2 in the even ends. Force your opponent to 1 in between, and at the end of the day, you should win 10-5.
Looks good on paper.
Yeah.
So Manuel, of course, was forced to take a single point with hammering in 1 and stole 1 point in 2, and Weagle was forced to take 1 and 3, so it's been 1s across the scoreboard here so far. And a tight affair here from the Lakeshore Curling Club.
Both teams executing very well here early in these ends, so we'll continue to put the pressure on each other.
Well, we talked about how easy the Matthew Manuel foursome here have had it at the championships, going 6-1. But they're facing a little bit of adversity right now because last night, of course, they had to play against Ryan Abraham in the late one, the 8 o'clock draw. So that got done right around about 11 o'clock last night. And meantime, of course, the Graham Weagle foursome, they were probably back at the hotel and getting well rested there for their matchup. But so far, the Matthew Manuel foursome still look like to be pretty awake and still on their game, even despite having a little bit of a tough schedule there, Karen.
Yeah, our schedule got a little interrupted earlier this week. We had a mechanical issue. We had to delay 1 draw. So that set all our draw times ahead a shift. As you said, it meant for a late game last night for our C qualifier. So, of course, Matthew Manuel coming into this as the winner of the A qualifier and the C qualifier, which the C qualifier, again, was played last night.
Of course, as you mentioned, that game, it was a 6-4 win over Ryan Abraham.
Came down to the last rock as well in the 10th end.
Yeah, there was a pretty good crowd on hand last night, and after Jones won her championship there, they pretty well focused on the remaining ends of the Abraham and Manuel matchup, and fantastic game is what people were talking about. Probably one of the best of the championships, back and forth, and great shot making by both of the teams. And Abraham, of course, was kind of hoping maybe it would have been deja vu all over again, but was unable to come away with a win in their second meeting against each other, because that's the only blemish that the Matthew Manuel foursome had, a 6-3 loss to Abraham in their fourth draw here at the championships. Nose hit there, the blue one there right in the top 12. And Manuel's going to ask to make a play being on that rock. Saw Alec Cameron, of course, he was taking game development at NSCC, so here is Nick Zachernik. He is an engineering student at Dalhousie University.
So I guess if you're Alec, you're looking at this game thinking, if we win this, we don't have to respawn for the next one.
Nose, bit of a hit and roll there as they remove the stone, and yellow moves towards the center line area. Big port there, so lots of room to come here for Brett Dory.
So both teams, sweepers, some fantastic technique in here, getting lots of pressure on the broom, very effective sweeping teams.
Nose hit as they sort of exchange shots, and you can see the indication there was to hit and try to roll in behind cover. That's what's on the docket here for Nick Zachernik. Light brushing here from Adam Cox. All by itself. Does get a roll, but it will roll too far and to the wings and to the side.
It's a great example of how lively those stones are, rolling all the way across. If you want to stay and control your rolls after impact, you're looking at throwing a control backboard weight. Sometimes the 10-second, 9-second hits are going to, when they make contact with the stone, may roll too far for you.
Up for grabs for this one is, of course, to represent Nova Scotia at the 2018 Canadian Junior Curling Championships, January 13th to 21st from Shawinigan, Quebec.
I was talking to a few of the family members from Team Jones last night, and they have their motto all selected now for the week in Shawinigan. They would like to win again in Shawinigan.
Boy, they have some creative people working on that team. Win again in Shawinigan. They're going to have to make a hashtag on that and put it out on Twitter.
Of course, Kristen Clark and Carly Jones, part of that World Championship team that did win the Canadian Juniors a few years ago.
Well, having a chance to cover the ladies there, Clark has basically said that she wants to move on to women's play next year. So basically, it's you could probably say national, world champion, or bust pretty well for that team.
Worlds or bust.
Worlds or bust. but they'll take the win again and Shawinigan. Nose hit and a little roll, very small.
Just enough to stay on the edge of the 12-foot. Very quiet in the ice shed. All the teams concentrating. Nervous parents and families behind the glass.
Yeah, a few more fans have made it out to the ice area there to watch from ice level. Bundled up and
I'm looking to roll behind cover here.
yeah. Couldn't think of a better blanket to have than a curling blanket, and that's what one of the couples over there have, you know, keeping their legs warm. Wonder where you'd have to go to buy one of those.
I think some of those are handmade.
Adam Cox.
Yes, that would be Owen Purcell's mother, actually, over there.
Adam, of course, was the skip of Nova Scotia at the 2015 Optimist International Bonspiel and was skip of the second-place team at the 2016 Nova Scotia Under-21 Provincial Championships.
So for some of the curlers that may have aged out a few years ago that are turning in, that
there's the aforementioned blanket.
Owen's mother and families.
Got to get me one of those.
The Optimist has been now replaced. Last year was our first year for an under-18 national. Was held in Moncton last year. This year it is in again in New Brunswick, St. Andrews, if I remember correctly. So there is now an under-18 playdown, and each province is represented at a national level. And this is a great opportunity for our youth to stay in the sport.
Been a little bit of a tough morning here for Owen Purcell. It's kind of wrecked a couple, and it's a regret. It has basically made Manuel come up with a steal in second. So trying to do the Taylor Swift impression and shake it off here as he throws here and in 4.
Hard for line. We're awfully close to this yellow stone right now.
Well, they give it a slight rub, and now they're going to try to push it in as far as they can. Is Mar, can he get it there? And yes, sir. Nice work by him and a nice awareness. And it's the term that we've used a lot, and I hear it a lot, the curling audible.
How do you make a miss a good miss? So rolling in behind cover for number 2.
Matthew, Nick, and Alex, and Coach Stu Cameron, they've been together since 2008. Cox joined the team in 2016-2017. So you have a team that has been playing together for 9 years versus a team that just came together this year. So these 4 members there in the white and black red jackets, they pretty well know each other like they know the back of their hand.
Yeah, they probably know what the other's going to say before they say it. So great for overall team dynamics and communications.
You know those shows where they have like the dating couples and they ask the ladies about 5 questions and then they bring the male out and ask the same ones?
See if they match the answers.
Exactly.
Matthew Manuel just trying to dry around the blue here. Get in for his 2.
Skip Rocks here in 4. 2-1 lead, Manuel over Weagle. Spin around, and we'll come to a rest there in the 8-foot. Good placement, too. Pretty well parallel of each other.
So Owen's looking to make sure that he gets a small roll off of this and gets behind cover for number 1, making it that much difficult for Manuel to score their deuce. Just admiring Owen's sliding device. It looks like a corn broom that's been saved from a well-loved position.
Wonder how you get one of those. Like, I mean, the thing is, you get a corn broom, of course. Originally, that's what they used in the sport. Do you have to beat it for like 4,000 or 5,000 times till it gets old, and then finally tape it up and use it these days?
I don't think you find too many new ones these days.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, a rack on the front here.
Yeah, it's been a struggle here for Owen here in this one.
It's an opportunity for Team Manuel to get 3.
As a curler, you kind of would really like, maybe a couple of the teammates to maybe go over there and, maybe pump the tires there of Owen personally, because it has been a struggle here for him. He has been kind of light and has kind of wrecked on things, and maybe go over there, try to pump his tires, as I mentioned, and make him feel a little bit better.
Yeah, certainly Manuel has momentum here right now. We do have a 5th end break coming up after the next end. Hopefully we can get some change of momentum at that time.
Yeah, you heard that sound. That was Purcell here. Final stone here in number 4. Manuel with 2 already, looking to try to get this one in for 3 here in number 4. Take a 5-1 lead. That team just going to probably push his own up in there. Actually, get that in there. Did it get the... Don't score that blue one there, Karen?
Yeah, I believe he did.
All right, so we'll verify that it is 3 there. 4. Team Manuel here, and he'll take a 5-1 lead into the 5th. And Weagle will have the hammer here throwing the blue stones.
So Weagle this end will definitely try to set up the deuce, make sure he gets some corner guards in the free guard zone. Manuel will want to try and keep it clean now.
Well, here's a coincidence here for you and us. The 2 times then here, and they've met here at these championships. Matthew Manuel has scored 3 in the 4th in all 3 of these.
Wow. Wonder if that's in the strategy book. I've talked to some coaches over our training years, and a lot of these teams at the higher level are looking at percentages and statistics now, and you're looking at improving your game. Instead of playing consistently at 75%, you want to play it at 78%. So what's the difference between that 75 and 78? Well, sometimes it's a 3-point end. So executing those shots and making sure that the scores, every ends, are only 1s or 2s instead of these 3s. Sometimes these 3-point ends are difficult for the opponent to recover from.
If that look says it all, how this one's going here for Graham Weagle, I don't know what is.
So both coaches do have 2 timeouts, as well as we have a 5th end break coming up. So hopefully the Weagle coach and team can use that time to refocus their energy and bounce back here. You'd love to go into the 5th end having picked up a few points.
2018 Scotties begins Tuesday, January 9th from the Dartmouth Curling Club. You can catch all the action here on Bell 5 TV1's live stream coverage beginning Tuesday, 9 a.m. here on Bell 5 TV1. Some of the names, of course, taking place: Kristen McDermott, Julie McAvoy, Jill Brothers, Teresa Breen, Marianne Arsenault, Colleen Jones, Colleen Pegney, and Isabel Ladouceur.
We've got to see Isabel Ladouceur quite a bit this week, so anxious to see how they do in that women's field. They are a junior women's team participating at this event. I believe it's the first time a junior team's qualified for our provincial Scotties. So home club team, and all our Lakeshore members here will be rooting them on for sure. Coached by Brian Rayfuse, who, if curling folks are, of course, joined us there for curling coverage last year from the Atlantic University Sport Curling Championships in Toronto, Nova Scotia, we'll remember him as the coach of the Dalhousie Tiger team. Both won silver medals that year. Trying to go hard to go through, and they do. And so Dory trying to get the extra little finish on this to make sure it's buried.
Brought his lunch pail today as he's going to work. Nice brushing there from the front end, especially Dory there getting it through. And as I said, he's been putting the work in, so it's he's been putting the work in pretty well since the championships there, Karen.
Yeah, quite a interesting group of athletes we have here. A lot of them full-time students participating in these curling events, so they do have a lot of travel. They maintain great academic levels, so and they're in the gym, they're practicing, they're playing games, traveling, so a lot of work these boys do.
Pretty well follow the same path, and they roll. Will they get buried on those two that's on the top there, the 12? No, we'll see lots of room of it.
We'll see it open.
But
it is behind
three.
The back. Yeah, it is behind the tee line. So Team Weagle could use this as backing and draw down to it, but they've elected to go to the other side.
After some great brushing there a couple of seconds ago, he actually gets a chance to sit in the hack and take a little bit of rest. It's Brett Dory here as he throws an in-5. So far, Purcell and Marv let it go by its own. They're kind of hoping it will dig in. Will it dig in? Manuel trying to brush it out. And it will just stay back 12.
Team Manuel still sitting 3, though.
You think you try to get a 4th one in there or protect your 3? What would you do?
It's still, we're at the midway point. Manuel does have a good lead. I think removing some of these front stones will be more beneficial to them right now. Keep that front one open. If you're Team Manuel, you don't mind if you force Weagle to 1 and then get the hammer back. As we said earlier in the game, we like to have the hammer in the even ends. So I'm going to roll over and kick off her own, although it is a stone that Weagle could have gone behind, so it's not a bad outcome. And we've got the front opened up as well, so overall worked well for Manuel there.
Yeah, it was just a little bit of a bonus. Not really was not in the game plan, but, you know, they're not too concerned about it, as you mentioned. And sometimes, you know, there's an added term in sport where they say you got to be good to be lucky and lucky to be good, and it's a Matthew Manuel Foursome. They are good, and sometimes they have a little bit of luck. And
yeah, I've also heard the term luck is when training and preparation meets opportunities. So they've certainly done the training and preparation here. So we'll just see who can capitalize on the opportunities.
This one's starting to curl here on the Graham Weagle Foursome. Are giving a little bit of an extra cleaning, so they'll try to get something to hide behind. They pretty well can't give up a steal here. They're down by 4. And if they ends up being like a steal here for Manuel, the chances here of the Weagle team coming from behind in curling is really hard with being a 5 or more point deficit that you have to come from behind. It's
extremely difficult to come from that far behind. We do have the break, so they'll have a chance to talk to their coach, find out if there's something maybe the coach is seeing behind the glass that they can improve upon. But a 2-point end could change it, and they'd be right back into it here. So some discussion here whether or not they want to go after the blue stone. They're not. They double checked it. The timeout called here. So we're not quite sure who may be number 2. Our camera angles appear that it may be yellow, but we'll just double check. So Coach Stu Cameron coming out for Team Manuel, and you'll see Anthony Purcell for Team Weagle. Not sure if our microphone on ice will pick up the discussion down at the other end.
taking a good look at that one. Pretty well assessing every situation here, and there is the foursome there.
Yeah, if they believe the blue stone is number 2, they may elect to remove that stone, reducing the scoring number of rocks that Weagle has to score with. If they believe it's number 2, they may just clear the front so they can't go around. And Team Weagle looking to score, although if they can, Team Manuel looking to score, although if they could force Weagle to 1 point, that would get them the hammer back. That would be a very good outcome for them as well.
Stu Cameron, as you see.
It's great to see him back. He was a little unwell at the beginning of the event. The third Adam Cox's father, Randy, stepped in for them.
There's Anthony Purcell. Probably a good chance for them to talk things over and, just say, look, we kind of need everybody's head to be, level, and, don't let the bad things that have happened in this game affect you. You still got to keep playing, and I really respect the curlers. I guess you could say lack of memory, because make a mistake, you kind of dwell on it sometimes, but for curlers, just shake it off. It's almost like like you have a mosquito and you just swat it away.
Yeah, definitely take those bad shots, park them away, don't think about them, look forward, and execute from here on out. So we've elected to remove the front stone, so just appeal here for Adam Cox.
See Dory in the background having a seat. He's earned that seat. Cameron there will sweep it the rest of the way. They'll remove the blue stone, and the shooter will go.
Some discussion on which turn they should take for this. If they elected to use the in turn, they won't have that yellow stone as backing. If they use the out turn, they have their own stone as backing. If I remember correctly, I'm not sure how far out it is. Got a sign in my way. Great big AMJ Campbell, our sponsor here this weekend.
Of course, at this time, we want to wish everybody a Happy New Year here from the Bell 5 TV1 family. Of course, the last day of 2017. And one of these teams hoping to celebrate with a championship to get the 2018 year started off with a bang.
A little rub here. It won't slow it down enough. They're just going to slide out the back. So this Team Weagle just not quite getting the communication down as to the draw weight.
Definitely a frustrating morning here from the Lakeshore Curling Club here for the Graham Weagle foursome out of the Chester Curling Club.
So Team Weagle electing to take this back stone off and remove any doubt of the number 2 stone. Hoping to roll out.
And they do. So the Manuel team lying 2 without hammer here in 5.
So, of course, some people at home are wondering why that was a good thing for Manuel to roll out. Right now, Manuel's lead. They do not need stones behind the tee line. Sometimes those stones behind the tee line are catchers or blockers for the blue team, which will, if you come down to a rock at the back, you would then outcount them. So it's to their advantage sometimes to have those rocks completely out of the rings.
Weagle once again trying to generate some offense to get a 2 here in 5 before the 5th in break. Nice brushing there by Maher and Dory once again, and place it pretty well close to the button.
Great recovery on the draw weight and sweeping there.
Yeah, he was deep with the last one, and this one was pretty well right on par, so they're going to run back the yellow onto the blue there. And for this team, the way that they've been shooting all week and been playing since Wednesday, it's not a gimme shot, but if you were a betting person, basically if you had $50,000 and you had a person that you were a team that you wanted to make that shot, you definitely want them to be the one to make it.
Yeah, definitely. So looking at a run back here. See a little bit of Matthews' pre-shot routine, spin the rock, focus, visualize the shot, and off we go.
And sometimes even a deep breath too. All on its own right now. Cameron, 1, bang, spills it over. And there they are sitting 2. Really make it tough to generate offense. They get control of the game and they can really shut things down and really make it difficult here for Weagle here, and it seems to have been the game plan pretty well throughout the championships.
Starting to see some of that national experience from the Manuel team coming into play here. The experience that they have playing under these pressure shots and these pressure games.
Yeah, definitely doesn't really want to take a single point here in 5. Because they'll give the hammer back to the defending champions Manuel in 6 and be down 3. So they're just still trying to figure things out to try to get their 2 here in 5. Owen Purcell.
So just trying to get this blue stone in a position that'll be very difficult for Matthew to remove. So we're looking to have this frozen to one of the back yellow stones.
Well, you mentioned earlier that anything that's behind the tee line is not really a help there to Manuel, so try to get this one, but this one looks a little off. And
a little bounce might give it a little bit of room to be squeezed out. See, we've got a little bit of separation there, so they may be able to pop it out.
As I said about the run back, same thing here. They be the odds-on favorite to pick this one out, and those 2 yellow stones wouldn't even be moved. I'd bet on them to do it, but
yeah, even if you did catch the back yellow and take it away, it removes it from that back 4 foot, but you're still forcing them to 1, so be a good outcome for Manuel. This is Matthew Manuel's last rock for the 5th end. Weagle with hammer.
well, they know the importance of getting that blue one out. Because then all of a sudden they'd have to leave Weagle with a draw for his last one here in 5.
Yeah, it's certainly a different game going into the 5th end break, up 3 with hammer. See that routine again? Spin the rock.
Pretty well You do that out of routine, and then it all of a sudden becomes a habit. You don't even know that you're doing it, but
Exactly.
works for you really well. Manuel here trying to remove that blue one. And he spills a couple of the yellows, so they'll leave that one out there. So all of a sudden this has changed the complexion of this one here, Karen, because now that's out on the wings and
gives Weagle an opportunity to hit and roll out in blank and keep that hammer so that they can get an opportunity for deuce in the next end.
final stone here for the Grand Weagle foursome. Fourth, his own Purcell throwing it here. Trying to hit and roll out the blank, the end, and carry it. And he'll stick it for a single point in 5 to make it 5-2, and the hammer will go to Matthew Manuel in the 6.
So we'll have a 5-minute break here at the 5th end, an opportunity for the coaches to come out and meet with the teams and give us a little bit of a break.
So once again, the score is Team Matthew Manuel 5, Grand Weagle 2. At the halfway point here at the 2017 AMJ Campbell Nova Scotia Junior Curling Championships on Bell 5 TV 1.
1 minute. Okay, good luck to both teams. Second half.
Welcome back to the Lakeshore Curling Club in Lower Sackville, Nova Scotia. Sixth in, just about seconds away from getting underway here on Bell 5 TV1's coverage of the AMJ Campbell 2018 Nova Scotia Junior Curling Championships. My name is Dan Hobson, along with Karen Skiffington, and for the first 5 ends of play, I guess you can pretty well assess it here, is that the reigning defending champions showing why they are the champions, really making it tough here for Weagle. And let's get your thoughts on what you've seen so far the first 5 ends.
Yes, we've seen a very clean game from Team Manuel. They're executing very well. Team Weagle struggling a little bit with the line and draw weight, just matching that up. I would expect to see a lot of rocks in play the next few ends. Weagle's looking to get that scoring opportunity to get a deuce. Manuel definitely in control of the game. They took one in the first end. They stole one in the second end. Forced Weagle to one in the third end. Took a 3-point lead after the fourth end. And then just forced Weagle to a single point in the fifth end, leaving us with a 5-2 score for Team Manuel.
So, of course, Weagle here trying to do something here. Down by 3, and it's a tough team to come from behind. See if they could do this little tick shot, and they're going to try to brush it. And it just stays on.
Perfect tick shot. So for those of us just joining at the midway point, we do have a 4-rock rule in play in which stones in the free guard zone, the area in front of the house, cannot be removed until the 4th stone of the end. So this shot that we just saw, the tick shot, works for Manuel because it removes the rocks from the center, forcing them out to the edges, away from the center area of play.
Yeah, I mean, Alec has done such a great job at that tick shot. He did it last night there in the game and in some of his games. So it sometimes the second time wasn't a charm, but this one will roll a little bit deeper. So it's now just on the edge of that 12-foot area.
Yes, so because this rock has slid into the circles or the rings or house, the Team Manuel is permitted to hit it. So our die-hard curling fans that watch some of the slam events may have seen the introductory of the 5-rock rule, which is going to be coming out in some formats next year on some events.
Nose hit, and it stays out there, but it's more of a help here to Weagle right now outside there. So has a little bit of coverage here. Kind of needs to really get a force on here and force or steal. So, but I think steal is, of course, the game plan here, number 1, because you don't really want to be down by 4, but a steal would be just great.
Yes, a steal would be good. It would put them within that 2-point range. Very difficult to do the way Team Manuel is executing right now. So making sure we get a lot of rocks in play is what Team Weagle's goal this end.
As Karen mentioned, of course, the 4-rock free guard zone. So now Zatchernuk has a chance here to spill some of those, a little bit of the stuff in front of the house there with this shot.
Should see quite a lot of weight on this. We want to move a couple stones. Shout out to our ice crew that gave us fantastic ice during this event this week.
There it is. Boom, boom.
A lot of rocks moving that time. Got that.
Look at them go, folks, and a nice little spin towards the back on that one.
Got the front well open, so Team Weagle will look to place another guard. I would expect to see them continue to replace the guard and try to generate that scoring opportunity.
Brett Dory here. And we'll come to a rest there, and basically, in the old days, of course, the skipper would tell you, this is what shot you're going to do. These days, they say, well, what do you feel comfortable with? What do we like, sort of thing. So you talk about the communication earlier in the game, and there it was right there. None of the old-fashioned days, this is what you're going to play, this is what you're going to do. They discuss it.
Yes, very much so. The training that they go through and the communication that they have nowadays is quite a detailed, just watching where those rocks are going, quite a planned, practiced skill set that they have. There's a rule and strategy now where you want to call the shot the thrower can make. So definitely want to make sure that you're using your comfort zones as well as the one that you're statistically going to make more often as well. So Dan, you have covered these curling events all this week. There's quite a few jerseys with similar names. A lot of family connections in our curling world. Did you run the numbers on how many family members were related here?
No, I didn't do that. Not enough time in the day. I had the option of either doing that or sleep. Sleep won, I think.
Yes. So we ran 4 draws a day for a couple days. So we had both men's and ladies event. So made for quite a hectic day. Our ice makers were in around 6 o'clock in the morning to get the ice ready for the 8 o'clock games. Staying here late at night. Last games wrapped up around 11:30 at night.
Adam Cox with an assist here from Cameron. And they stick it.
Yeah, not quite clearing it off the front, so this might work to Team Weagle's advantage here. They'll have an opportunity to either double guard it or come around. So with Team Manuel executing run back so well, they may elect to have it high in the house, create an opportunity for 2 guards to come around.
Graham Weagle, we mentioned earlier, 4-2. Started off with a 10-2 win over Logan Sweeney, a 6-5 win over Ryan Abraham, and then the 9-4 loss here to Matthew Manuel, and then got on another streak again of a 6-3 win over Stefano Sokolik, and Ryan Abraham another 11-8 win over him, and then ran into Manuel yesterday, an 8-5 loss. So basically that tells you his kryptonite here, or the team that just has been giving him fits, has been this Matthew Manuel foursome.
Yeah, definitely struggling with their draw weight.
Of course, they're going to peel their own guard here and get rid of it, and they may even bump that blue one out, and it goes out. It was right on the wings, really not really much of a help, but now there's, of course, 3 yellow stones belonging to Manuel out there, and Weagle needs some sort of protection somehow, somewhere, and you can see they're right towards the side of the house.
Yep, so we'll try to draw over to the wings and get in behind some cover. Perhaps that'll offer some protection against Team Manuel.
We're into 4 stones here and in 6. If there ever was a Jeff Stoughton look-alike throwing contest, Owen Purcell would win it. Same with the broom and same with the style.
Certainly got a very technical tuck slide. Works very well for him.
Back 8 to lie 1.
Still open. Manuel just looking to remove this stone, potentially set up a blank opportunity.
Date back to 2013. Under-21 provincial championship record. They went 2-3, and then 2014 4-3, finished second. 2015 7 wins, no loss, and finished first. So you see that it's basically they're trying to go to the top, and they keep going to the top, gradually going up year after year is this team.
Yeah, you're always looking to improve on something from the year before. Practice on some of those weaknesses you may have had and turn them into your strengths. So hit and roll out here, forcing Weagle to try and bury again. So skips last rock for Team Weagle with Manuel with the hammer.
Try to put this in a spot that makes it hard. Of course, Manuel had the hammer in number 1 and had a chance to blank and couldn't, and was forced to take a single point in number 1. Owen Purcell trying to hope to put the rock in the good spot to have deja vu all over again. What happened in number 1 to hopefully happen here in number 6 as he throws his final here, representing the Chester Curling Club, number 1 in the Nova Scotia Junior Curling Provincial Rankings. But they're in tough against Team Manuel, down by 3 here in the 6th.
He's sliding a little heavy here.
Will it stick around? No, it won't, as the struggles for Owen Purcell continue.
Team Manuel electing, I believe, to blank. Should expect to see this stone go through the rings.
And they're just going to make sure that they keep it clean and nothing gets picked here as they are going to throw this through the house. Matthew Manuel will carry the hammer into in number 7 as he blanks the 6th in. So it remains Matthew Manuel 5, Graham Weagle 2. Nova Scotia Junior Curling Championships here on Bell 5 TV1, sponsored by AMJ Campbell. Dan Hobson and Karen Skiffington gladly bringing this one to you. A win here for Manuel, and he will claim the championship. Weagle hoping that he could turn this thing around and come away with a win and play a little bit later on this afternoon, as he has to win 2 to win the provincial championship As Karen mentioned earlier in the broadcast, and if those who are just tuning in, triple knockout, and right now Weagle has a record of 4-2 and can't afford to get a third loss. And Matthew Manuel is 6-1. So it was a tough task, and it keeps getting tougher here for the Grand Weagle foursome out of the Chester Curling Club.
Yeah, Team Weagle really needs to get some of these rocks in play, utilize the free guard zone, get some guards set up. And this Team Manuel executing every shot. Very hard for Team Weagle to get a jump on them. Very nice free guard zone center guard here.
Did very well in the tick there in the previous end. Let's see if he can once again. Alec Cameron.
So because this rock is in the free guard zone, it cannot be completely removed, but it can be moved around in the area of play. So Alec just looking to move it off the center line or potentially move it way to the back of the playing area. This is one of our more finesse shots. So he'll make contact.
And of course, Weagle will try to squeeze it and get it out. So then they'll have to remove it, and boy, you can't get any closer than that.
Fantastic. Good
Gets
shot.
a little bit of a woo from the crowd here, close to our broadcast location, watching this one. A big ooh and ah, and we're not talking about the fireworks being lit off there from downtown Halifax.
Yeah, that
Another inch, and all of a sudden it'll be going back where it came from.
Yeah, so if you do remove a rock that's in the free guard zone from play, it does get replaced back to where it was before, as if the shot had not occurred, and the yellow stone would have come out of play. So very difficult for Team Weagle to get their end set up with the execution like that.
Of course, teams sort of have like a little post-game sort of synopsis or go over everything that went on in the game that they just played. And I imagine they're going to have a chuckle over that one there from Cameron there as it just stuck.
That'll probably make that highlight reel.
Well, definitely would have been one where you probably didn't get a chance to see the team's reaction there, but I'm sure you probably looked like they swallowed a piano. Lots of pearly whites being shown.
Yeah. Another attempt here, but this is an okay result for Team Manuel. The rock's not in play, so it doesn't give Team Weagle an opportunity to generate points had they just been in the rings or at the back. So even though they did not succeed in removing that off the center line, they didn't leave a lot of rocks in play. So Team Weagle looking to double up on these guards, making a run back more difficult for Team Manuel.
This looks like, and they're running. Weagle's going to take over and relief. So now it's Purcell and Weagle.
This is very difficult because they're trying to get that long guard, so just over the hog line. Of course, the hog line is that long blue line you see at the bottom of the screen. So the stone does have to completely travel over that line to be in play. Again, not an easy shot to accomplish.
And as you see, well short. Just not their day today so far. Zatchernuck. Cox giving Cameron a little bit of a break as he'll drag this one here for line.
So, of course, that opportunity, we discussed the different sweeping scenarios that we're seeing nowadays. The one sweeper for line, so they may have just elected to use the one sweeper to control some line, make sure it didn't curl too much on them.
Have to date back a couple of years ago. We were watching some of the Tankard and Scotties championships, and of course a name that's familiar with curling there in the Glasgow area, Jim Nix, was calling it and calling one of the games, and Jim said, I don't know how I feel about somebody, screaming at me while I'm trying to sweep this rock down. It's just one of the funniest things I ever heard. And of course, he's a well-known curler. Actually had a chance to take part in the Briar last year for
Team Nunavut.
Team Nunavut, and also coached the Mount Allison Mounties, which his daughter played for in the AUS Curling Championships. But
yes, I always say to the team when you're being screamed at from the skip for line calls and whatnot, is it intimidation or is it motivation? So it just depends
it's
on the team.
some sort of shun.
So Team Manuel just keeping it clean. Sound like we're repeating ourselves every end. Unfortunately, the execution is so precise with these teams that we may continue to see very similar shots.
I always say in this business is that we are just basically the storytellers, and the people that you see on your screen are the story makers. So it is what it is. But you've seen, like, of course, these championship teams just don't really give much in terms of chances. Once they seem to have you, got your number, have the lead.
Yes, we've seen this style play quite a lot with Team Jones, where they play very aggressive at the beginning, score a lot of points, and then just keep them clean and hopefully run the team out of rocks. Very similar gameplay here with Manuel.
The blue one there, that one that tick shot a few seconds ago, almost sort of came into play, almost jammed onto that, but it slides towards the back. Graham Weagle here. Just hoping here, just to, just troping for a miss here from that Manuel team. And
there is a Manuel stone over here on the right-hand side of our screen, yellow, that they perhaps later in the end, if Manuel continues to remove these center guards, they may try to go around, try to hide somewhere.
Well, they've probably had a lot of practice there. Of course, seeing their record of 6-1, their only closest game so far was the last one they played against Ryan Abraham last night, 6-4. But they've had pretty well their ease with the opposition. A 5-point win over Young, a 6-point win, another 5 there against Graham Weagle, a 6-3 loss to Abraham. So the thing is, they've pretty well been dominant since the opening throw, so they're probably used to this routine where they get up and they just shut the door.
Yes, they definitely in the zone, carrying the momentum from game to game, utilizing all that experience that they have, bringing into this event.
Owen Purcell here in 7.
Matthew Manuel also qualifying for this event through a qualifying playdown, was able to play some games and get to see some of the teams in the qualifying that they're playing here. Team Weagle qualified through tour points, so they participated in events in which they accumulated points and qualified through that way. So they didn't get the opportunity to see the teams that they would be playing as much as maybe Team Manuel may have, whether or not that was an edge or not. These teams in the age category tend to play each other quite often. Maritime provinces playing each other quite a few spiels in October and November for the juniors.
Well, you mentioned, of course, that yellow stone belonging to Manuel, and that Team Weagle would come around it, and they did. So you see half a rock there.
Yeah, just trying to hide anywhere they can and make a shot more difficult for Matthew here. So it appears he's going to ignore this and try and set up a point on the other side, but I could be wrong.
Okay, go last, go middle 4.
So I'm not sure if the hand Adam's using to hold the broom is indicating turn or not. We'll know here in a moment. So they are coming down to the blue stone. So the blue stone being half buried behind the yellow, if he uses a hack weight or a heavy draw weight, he may be able to come down and just tap it to the back position out of play.
Manuel Stroh all by itself, now getting slight brushing here.
Very nice line here. Does it have enough weight? Just pushes it to the back. Very difficult from our overhead camera to see if it's actually on the rings. Sometimes these overheads are deceiving. They're either not directly above the center of the circles or we're distorted a little bit through our feed. So we'll have to wait on confirmation from the teams if that's actually in. Of course, you can't measure a stone until the end of the game, so I have to wait for all the rocks to be thrown. Last rock for Team Weagle here in the 7th end.
So far, Mara and Dory here just onlookers.
Workhorses with all their sweeping. So Brett Dory trying to get a little bit more curl out of this stone. So that blue on the back may come into play if Matthew tries to blank and we find out it is in, or he may elect just to nose hit and.
Okay, yeah, fair enough. Nice board.
So looking for board weight, which would be enough that we'll get a little bit of movement out of it. Be able to control any kind of roll out of it as well.
Final stone on its way from Matthew Manuel out of the Mayflower Curling Club. Will hit and take a single point here in end number 7. And we'll take a 4-point lead. 6-2, Matthew Manuel over Graham Weagle. Eighth into play here at the AMJ Campbell 2018 Nova Scotia Junior Curling Championships here on Bell 5 TV 1. Alongside Karen Skeffington, my name is Dan Hobson. And they're counting down the rocks here as Matthew Manuel here. He's up by 4, 6-2 as we play the 8th with the yellow-handled stones. And Graham Weagle with the blue-handled stones. He'll have hammer here in 8.
So Matthew Manuel looking to not have very many rocks in play, wants to keep very low scoring ends. Team Weagle looking for any opportunity to set up a scoring potential.
So pretty well replay of the previous ends here. Just if you can find something here for Weagle here to, generate, you have to sort of guard, and this one will come deep, so
I think you'll see Weagle ignore that and set up some corner guards. They really need to use this free guard zone to get some rocks in play.
Yep.
Try and get that momentum shifted.
Jeffrey Meyer here of his first year in end 8. As that's on its way, remind everybody that Bell 5 TV 1 will be your home in there for the 2018 Scotties as well as the Delight Tankard. And our coverage will begin Tuesday, January 9th, Dartmouth Curling Club. And as I mentioned, you can watch it there from first row to the awards presentation. Here in Bell 5 TV 1 is going to be from the Dartmouth Curling Club. Look forward to seeing everybody there in attendance. And this is my favorite shot, and I'm really good at this, throwing it through the other end.
Some teams use that as an opportunity to do some ice reading and study a spot in the ice maybe you haven't seen yet. So sometimes still a useful shot, even though we're...
And working with Bill Fletcher on the women's game yesterday, he said that doesn't even affect your curling statistics.
That's correct.
That's a newbie to me, but anyway.
Yeah, so in curling statistics, every shot is ranked on a 4-point score to give you a percentage. If you've elected to throw a stone through, your shot is not even accumulated into that statistics. So Team Weagle looking to get another guard up here, so they have some stones to hide behind. So the danger one here, the center, going for the one that's closer to the rings. So two theories here. There's a blue stone near the center line that could be dangerous as it's covering the forefoot. The outside guard is closer to the rings, therefore easier to raise.
Satchernuk with his peeling pants on here in 8. And good awareness here by Cox to sweep it out the rest of the way and gets it out. Well, execution. Knew that it needed a little bit of an extra aid to get it out, and Cox was quickly on it and swept it out the rest of the way.
Yeah, good awareness of the team in general of what the overall game and end plans are. Just trying to get a little finish and maybe change that line up a little bit on the stones and the stagger between the guards.
I heard want to go, and that's usually a term that you hear when the enforcers there want to, drop the gloves in hockey. You don't always hear it in curling there. You want to go?
It is the gentleman's sport, so
Yeah.
you don't hear it very often.
Yeah. I think it was more like the long try to get the scrub, but still, it was kind of funny. Don't often hear it in this sport.
Of course, in this situation, it was should we sweep or...
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Just funny how some things, you just immediate, word association think of that, so.
Well, especially in your background with multiple sports.
You're just kind of standing. I thought you knew.
Well, you can sort of tell that they have a lot to be smiling about as Cox is making his way up the ice here. And
so we have a timeout called by Team Weagle. Little confusion as to who actually called it. So in the case of our event, the timeout, the coach may indicate to the team that he would like a timeout. The time doesn't actually stop until the team can indicate it from ice level. So a little bit of confusion. The coach thought the team knew, but the signal did not get carried over to the umpires. So well, that'll get corrected on the clock end, and we'll see if Anthony Purcell can get the boys motivated. And so in a timeout like this, you probably want to try and plan a few rocks. So you're not just setting up the next rock, you're setting up the next couple rocks.
only lonely on the inside is Brett Dory there. I'm so lonely. Come back, boys.
Just tell me the weight and what the broom is, and I'll throw it.
Wonder if they'll say, hey guys, I missed you.
another guard. Again, just looking for that opportunity to set up some scoring potential.
Yeah, well, we're sort of joking around. It hasn't been a laughing matter here for this Graham Weagle team. Been in a uphill battle, and with every in that goes by, it gets a little bit harder. They have to win 2 to claim the championship, and they're running out of ins on this one and running out of rocks. Down by 4.
Yeah, you don't like to hope for your... Sportsmanship doesn't want you to have a miss from the other team, but kind of hoping something might happen in your favor.
Adam Cox. And Zachernik trying to sweep it over and almost lines it up there with that high blue one belonging to Weagle.
Might be an opportunity now for Weagle to get in here, frozen on the yellow with 2 guards. The way the guards are staggered, it's very difficult to make a run back, so Team Manuel might be looking at a double peel. Great shot there of the line callers with their stopwatches in the house, just to give them an idea what the weight might be.
Good opportunity here for Weagle here in 8.
So we hear Purcell say Brett the whole way. That means we're hoping for a little Brett to do some directional sweeping, get a little bit more curl out of this stone. Just with the backing, they may have thrown it a little bit heavier than they would have liked. Great shot overall. We sit in top 4. If you're Team Weagle here, you're hoping the jam might be there.
Cox hoping for better results here on his second here in 8.
Yeah, they'd love to get a nose hit and sit top 8, which would make a draw for Team Weagle very difficult. Very nice.
Ask and you shall receive. Matthew Manuel lying to.
So an interesting call here might be the turn from the outside in, which would be the in turn for our throwers. Come around from the outside and draw down to that back one. It's not a shot you see very often. Most draws go from the center line out. So they're thinking they may be able just to tap it back behind the tee line, maybe keep it, set up some jam potentials. Sometimes this is where you need to look up and say, what's the scoreboard and what can we afford to do? And here you really need to get a score. Looks like they're going to do some type of play on the front here, whether it's to tap it back or a little hit and roll in behind cover. Timeout called from...
Really? Yeah, I heard it. Really? Some of the things that you pick up when you get a chance to hear these games, you know, remember Chelsea Carey at the Roar of the Rings. She was in control of the game, and then all of a sudden, looks like the ice might have fooled her in one of the shots, and she said, "Are you kidding me?" And it just seems as like, what are you kidding me? It's like, I just went off on a laughing spurt for a bit.
Of course, it would probably be at the most quiet time of the game that we would pick that up.
Yep. Well, Anthony Purcell, there you see in that shot there, pointing and directing and giving instructions here to his team. After this timeout, he's basically, it's out of his hands as they have used both of them up.
Yeah, so here the concern is, how are you going to score your deuce? So making sure you get 2. So you need your rocks in their rings. And sometimes you have to utilize the Yellowstones to your advantage. So we'll listen in and see if we can pick up.
Get rid of them. Go over here. Because I don't think if we play back line, we're going to be tough to score on.
Just make sure you hold the shooter then, if that's what you're thinking.
Go back 8 right there.
Yeah, okay.
Back 8 right there.
So what? You want to get a roll here?
I don't mind you guys throwing like cactus on
Yeah,
that.
that's what we were thinking.
But they would,
Yes.
yeah.
That's what we're making it on. Pack the boards and just look at that.
Just give ourselves enough space.
So they don't mind the double.
I think this would be pretty close for ice cream.
I think a little defensive here, a little worried that you don't want Manuel to score any more points.
Do you like this ice?
Well, we said it earlier, and if everybody is just tuning in here and missed a little bit of the start of it, anytime that a team gets up by 5 or more in the sport of curling, the analytics indicate that it is very slim and none to get back into it. So that may be what's going through their head right now, as you said, a little defensively, but...
Yeah, you look at the scoreboard. The ends haven't been, 1 point here, 1 point there. The fourth end, when Manuel managed to score 3, was the real game changer there, and Team Weagle just having a difficult time to recover from that. We're by the front stones.
Well, in the sport, of course, in sports, you got to take the positives here, and you take away that, as you said, that third end, that 3-ender there, where they got 3 points in the fourth, and that's basically, as you say, was a difference maker in this, and you take that away, and we could be looking at like a 1 point game. So I mean, that's what really I think that the Team Weagle team has to take out of this is that hey, we went end for end except number 4.
Yeah, I had a coach once that used to call that the brain fart end. So you've got to look at reducing the number of ends that you're scoring, the larger numbers. And that will probably be a takeaway for them this week. How do we reduce? As you said, in the other 2 games they played, they gave up 3 against Manuel. So Team Weagle will definitely look at how they minimize that scoring opportunity, make sure that they capitalize on getting those 2s, not giving up 3s.
Skipped our 4th rocks here in end 8. Three-time provincial champions looking to make it number 4 in the driver's seat.
Great shot here. They sit top 8 foot, blocking that draw path off. They keep looking at the line of those rocks. So sometimes you just got to let them throw. Of course, Owen making some great shots earlier this week, some angle raises, and
it's been a little bit of a different story here in this one. It's been sort of short and struggling. Owen Purcell here in 8th. Throws 4th rock here for the Grand Weagle team.
see our ladies teams Jones here watching, cheering on the boys. See who will be traveling with them to Shawinigan.
But that was a really good throw there from Owen, so that's definitely going to be really for good confidence there for him.
Yeah, it wasn't quite the result we were looking for. I think he would rather be a little bit more frozen, but nonetheless, a great shot. He is behind cover, so with each rock you add to the shot, you add a little bit level of difficulty. So it does appear to be a simple run back, but we do have to execute that.
Need to get something positive going, and that may actually get him motivated to get going. And he's done, as you said earlier in the championships, was on his game, and this has been a little bit of a struggle for him. So I classify that as a little bit of a bounce back shot for him here as they wait for the final run here from Manuel here in 8. Up by 4.
Sometimes having that game off, you lose a little bit of momentum. So.
Spills out the blue, and once again lying to is Manuel. So are you a morning person?
Sometimes it can be. I was a morning curler apparently, but never played as well at night. So some teams, they play better in the evening games than they do in the morning. The boys had the early draws throughout the event this year. They had the 8 a.m. and the 4 o'clock in the afternoon games. So last night's game was a late one for them. The women, of course, playing at 12 noon and 8 p.m.
Final stone here for Graham Weagle's foursome here out of the Chester Curling Club. Their 4th is Owen Purcell. Facing 2 yellow handled stones belonging to Matthew Manuel.
Line looks good, has the weight.
They want it to sit.
Sit for 1.
And it does. Back 4 for the single point. (6-3) as we head to the 9th.
So Manuel will look to blank this end now and carry the hammer into the 10th end. Of course, Manuel will need to set up a scoring opportunity. Very difficult to steal against this team.
Manuel with the hammer throwing the yellow stones here in N9 here at the AMJ Campbell 2018 Nova Scotia Junior Curling Championships on Bell 5 TV1. If you're just joining us, my name is Dan Hobbs, and glad you can join us alongside Karen Swiffington here at the Lakeshore Curling Club, Lower Sackville, Nova Scotia. 2 ends left in this one. And Manuel counting down the rocks to his 4th provincial championship.
So Team Weagle changing up their guard a little bit, making a long guard here, hopefully making it a little more difficult for Alec to do the tick shot. The last couple ends, we've seen him perform that quite well. Graham will try to sweep this blue stone out. So of course with the free guard zone we cannot remove a rock from play. So this stone will be returned and the yellow will be removed.
A couple of ends ago there he had that tick shot and the blue just barely stayed on. Not the case this time, as you see, replaced and the yellow removed out of play, as Karen mentioned.
Team Manuel, it's like a no harm, no foul trying that shot. They don't want a lot of rocks in play. They're trying to blank, so that means they don't want their own stones either. So even just having this replaced, they still don't have their stone in play. And now they'll have a second chance at this.
Trying to get in behind cover of that long blue guard. Bang on.
Yeah, have to wait. See if it's in, but the long guard, the danger right now, so we'll try it on that. So it did sneak in. So there should be just a straight peel.
See if you can tick it once again.
Just to rub off the guard in the front.
That's the thing, as you said earlier, it's a precision shot, that tick shot, and just gets a piece of the rock and goes out. But of course, that almost like works as if they sort of like, tried to make the play and did remove it, because as you said, they don't really want to rocks in play. So, it's, as you say, no harm, no foul, no big deal if they can't make the play on it. But all of a sudden it sort of now has a little bit of backing. So now if they can bury one in and use, the guard on a guard here and put it in behind that one that's there in the top 12 and put it in the 4-foot area, then all of a sudden they're in business.
Yeah, so it's definitely given Weagle the opportunity to get set up with a couple of guards here. Now with the hitting capabilities that Team Manuel has, they could definitely remove a few rocks at a time. So
take a look at this.
Fantastic.
So they have pressure on the defending champions here. Weagle here in 9. Nick Sachernuk going to try to clean things up in front. And is successful on that.
So some viewers may wonder why you wouldn't try to take 2 stones at once. The idea here is to make sure that the front is cleared, so you want to make sure your yellow stone rolls out as well. So the simple peel is keeps it nice and clean.
Brett Dory.
Just looking to replace that guard.
They want it to sit.
Yeah, come in too deep. It sets up an opportunity for a double peel here by Team Manuel.
He was almost licking his chops as soon as he was seeing that. And pat in the back there from Owen there to Brett.
So looking to open up the front here.
Big weight thrown here by Nick Sachernuk. You see it, it's intense, so it will be close. 1, 2, bang out the one that was on the button, pretty well replaced it.
Opened it up at the front, so that's, we said that was the objective of that shot, make sure something was open, so.
Do have a blue handled stone just on the bottom of your screen there that they could hide in behind. Sit 2 and 1 would be buried. Graham Weagle throws 3rd.
The blue stone in the house is open, so we may be electing to guard this.
Going to be a long one when it comes to an end, and it just gets over the line.
Yeah, Manuel's so good at making those runbacks. You want those guards as spread out as possible and make it more difficult. Great awareness of angles and trajectories and whatnot of stones. A lot of weight on this one.
Adam Cox with his PO8. I was kind of hoping maybe to get a piece of that blue one and a little bit of dancing there by the Matthew Manuel team. They're trying to maybe, cheer it on to hit that one, but
yeah,
just blows by.
For some reason, us curlers think that our body language can determine the direction of the stone. We lean when we want it to go one way and whatnot, but not quite, doesn't work for us all the time.
So pretty well going to try to get another guard up here is Graham Weagle.
Great judgment on the weight there for the sweepers to just get it over the hog line.
Yeah, showed no panic with it. Seen a couple of hogs here in this game.
Yeah, and that's just, they're trying to get so close to the hog line. We're usually trying to get it closer to the button.
Similar weight, similar shot here for Cox as his previous one. But you gave him a second chance, and look at that. First you don't succeed, try again, and he spills everything. And that gets a little bit of applause here from the people here at the Lakeshore Curling Club in attendance watching this one. They're on the warm side, and
a few family members out in the cold, diehard fans.
yeah, I was going to say about 10 on the cold side, and the warm side showed their appreciation here, and our microphones on our headsets may have picked that up.
So Team Weagle here trying to hide behind anything that's out there. So there's a lonely yellow stone at the front, and they'll try to use that to their advantage.
Owen Purcell here. And in number 9, Manuel doubling Weagle 6-3.
It's a nice line. We'll slide a little deep.
Well, the Weagle supporters like it.
Yeah. It's a blue stone in the rock behind cover, so Manuel will play on his front yellow stone here. No hesitation. Broom down and away we go.
It's so funny is that we, Bill Fletcher and I, called the women's game and how so similar that these games have gone. You know, not a lot of time wasted, not a lot of, time thinking on some things, and it, shows in the time clock here as we're into the fourth and skip rocks here at 9.
Yeah, so for the novice curlers out there that may have never played under time clocks, both teams started the game with 38 minutes of thinking time. So thinking time means when the team is discussing the shot or they're planning their execution, the clock is running. As soon as the stone begins to be delivered, the clock stops for them. We found that teams that were trying to play a draw game were getting penalized on the clock because their stone, of course, would take longer to travel the length of the sheet of ice. So they've gone to think time. Now, both teams now are around the 9-minute mark for time, so plenty of time to finish off this end and play the 10th. Of course, Team Manuel still with 2 timeouts. Team Weagle has already used their 2.
Having a chance to take a look at the game last night between Ryan Abraham and Manuel, it wasn't time really sort of was not on his side. He actually had to take a timeout there to get his last throw in 10. He was right around about 1:30, but wanted to make sure and give himself some extra time, called the timeout, and then made his way up and made the shot. Just didn't want to run out of time.
Yeah, certainly a minute is quite a bit of time to get in a hack and deliver the stone. Just having that extra 90 seconds from your timeout to give you that buffer and give you that minute to catch your breath, get your mind focused on, get that shot visualized, could be the difference. And in his case, it worked out for him.
For the moment, Weagle sits 2. Could have been a little bit more as we take a look at Adam Cox and what Really loved his throw there on the last one. Just got all kinds of rocks spilling all over the place, and definitely one of the most fantastic shots here so far of the championships. Has to be up there in the top 10.
We expected to see fireworks tonight, but we're seeing them here early this morning.
Final stone here for Matthew Manuel here in end number 9. Facing 2 blue ones of Weagles. And he'll spill both the blue and stick around for the single point. (7-3) as we head to the 10th.
So the Team Weagle having a little team meeting here and get refocused for the last end.
Looking at this could be the possible final end here at the AMJ Campbell 2018 Nova Scotia Junior Curling Championships here on Bell 5 TV 1. 7-3 as we're in the 10th end. And Graham Weagle. And they're going to shake hands on it after talking about it and discussing it. Your 2018 provincial champions here at the AMJ Campbell Nova Scotia Junior Curling Championships. Matthew Manuel out of the Mayflower Curling Club. Their second is Nick Zachernik. Lead Alec Cameron and Adam Cox, and of course skipped by Matthew Manuel, coached there by Stu Cameron of the Mayflower Curling Club. And they are your provincial champions, so they will represent Nova Scotia for a 4th time at the 2018 Blue Line New Holland Junior Curling Championships in Shawinigan, Quebec. So after deciding a little bit and talking it over, they decide to shake hands here and not play the 10th.
So we'll take a few minutes here and we'll come back and have the closing ceremonies, the presentations of the medals and trophy for you. We'll just take a few minutes to reset because we're going to do that on ice.
All right, so we'll be back here with the medal presentation, the closing ceremonies here at the Lakeshore Curling Club. You're watching Bell 5 TV1's coverage of the 2018 AMJ Campbell 2018 Nova Scotia Junior Curling Championships.